Welcome to Week 12 of Prospect Basketball Weekly. I'm Paul Evers, and I'm joined once again by Coach Cam Rodella. Coach, thanks for joining us once again.
Yep.
So Tuesday night, you guys were able to get a win against Rolling Meadows to start the regional playoffs for you guys. How key was that win to obviously start your playoff run?
Yeah, we're focused on the next game. You know, playing Meadows, and they know us extremely well, probably as well as anybody else. Going up against their matchup zone always can create some problems, and I was just happy we pulled it out. You know, if you asked our guys, I thought we played a pretty solid game overall. Had a couple of small things that we cleared up yesterday in film. Guys are enthusiastic, and I expect today's practice to be our best one of the year.
And then obviously it's tough playing a team for what would have been the third time that night. How happy are you guys with your guys' performance and how you handled playing Rolling Meadows when the teams know each other so well?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, and I talked to our three captains yesterday after practice and just reminded them that they're some of the most competitive guys I've ever been around. And they hold themselves to a standard that very few players I've ever coached hold themselves to. You know, they expect perfection every single time they play. And I remind them that could be a gift and a curse, you know, is that they have to approach it knowing full well that even the best shooters in the world only make every other shot, right? I mean, so if you look at it that way, it's making sure that you understand we want perfection, but that you have to be able to also give yourself a break sometimes, right? Stay loose. And that was something that I think we could learn from Tuesday. I think we were a little bit tight. You can expect to see a very loose but focused and disciplined team come Friday.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't your guys' best performance of the year. You guys obviously had greater games, but it wasn't a bad performance.
No.
What do you think is going to be those key takeaways from that game as you guys are heading forward?
I think the biggest thing is sort of the in-between time. I call it the dead ball time. So when there's a turnover and maybe a foul, an underneath out of bounds play, in between quarters, you've got time to either run to your spot or jog to your spot. You know, when a shot is missing, you got to get back on defense. How fast are we getting back? It's sort of those in-between times from like top of the key to top of the key. That's when I really know our team's locked in, is when their eyes are up, their heads are on a swivel, and they're constantly communicating in between the two tops of the keys. It's always easy to play hard in the half court. It's easy to play hard on the other side of the half court, but it's those in-between times that can make a big difference. And we'll be focusing on it because anybody who watches Lake Park play, what they do between the two top of the keys is as hard and as direct as any team we've seen this year. They're very good at it, and we'll be prepared.
And then talking about the in-between times, you guys had a lot of downtime in the last game with a lot of fouls called. How are you guys going to continue to possibly deal with maybe some tighter refereeing? You know, you never know what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis to avoid foul trouble and to try and get the fouls and get to the free throw line where you guys are very proficient.
Yeah, no, I was extremely happy with how we finished out the game from the free throw line. You know, we had multiple guys hitting big shots that we needed every single one of them to keep the lead. When it comes to Lake Park, they trap. They do a run and jump. They switch screens. So they're going to throw a bunch of different stuff at us. But what makes me feel so good is we have an extremely level-headed and skilled group of guards, you know, with David and Tone and Grant Whitebloom and Frankie, and guys that really understand where the ball's at, how to take care of the ball, and spacing. So they'll know where the traps are coming from. That's our job as a staff, to get them prepared on film and in practice. But I feel all very, very positive that these guys are going to handle it in stride and go out and try and win this game.
And as you said, it was very key to hit those free throws down the stretch. The game was still in doubt. It was a 10-point victory, but it never seemed like the game was in hand. Meadows was always fighting back.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be a benefit to you guys going forward that you guys played a very tough first-round matchup before heading in later into the playoffs?
Yeah, and I'll even go a step further in saying that every single year, you know, this year it's the best record we've ever had as a staff during our tenure as Prospect, coaches here. But with that said, is we schedule the most difficult non-conference slate that we can every single year. You know, wins are great. I care far more about challenging ourselves. And the tight games we played in this year, you think of the Stevenson game, you think of the Hinsdale Central game, right? You think of how well we played in that Lions game, that Niles North game. You look at these games, they've prepped us so that when our guys take the floor Friday night, it's not a surprise. You know, as I say, and I tell them all the time, like, they've been built for this, right? We've scheduled these things out. We practice the way that we do, that when it comes to a chance to win a regional title, like, you're built for this. And I hope that confidence just oozes out of them come tomorrow night.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
We'll be back later to preview this Friday's regional championship game. Next up is player guest Antonio Gardner.
A.K.A. the Denver Nuggets. Welcome back to Prospect Basketball Weekly. I'm your co-host Jack Ankeny, and now we're joined with prospect guard Antonio Gardner. So Tony, it's good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
All right, so last night you guys went and watched the Lake Park Buffalo Grove game and saw Lake Park win in a close one.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what is your initial kind of thoughts about them as a team?
They're a very good team. They play very hard, and they run through their sets very good, and they listen to their coach, and they have really good game plans and stick to that. So we have to come out and play our game.
Okay. What kind of preparation do you think it'll take, knowing that like you guys have never played them and you've only really seen them once, and then you have a pretty quick turnaround to Friday's game?
Stay patient and do what has got us here this far. Play our game, and I think it'll be a good outcome.
All right. What specific kind of like game keys do you think it will be important to execute in order to win?
Really be patient. We can't overdo anything. Like, we're all going to be overly anxious, but we got to stay the course and stay calm. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, so for you and the rest of the seniors on the team, it's your final game at Prospect. I guess what kind of mindset do you have going in to an atmosphere like that?
I mean, we have the best gift to leave Gene Walker with the regional title. So that's been our goal for a long time, and it's here. So hopefully we can get that and leave Gene Walker on a very high note.
All right, what would it mean to you guys to win the regional championship on your last game at home?
The world. I mean, we've talked about it since I can remember, and for it to actually be like a reality, it's there, but it's not over yet. We have to win a really good game against a really good Lake Park team. So
okay, so I guess kind of looking at that game and then maybe ahead, what do you think it will take for this team to make a deep run in the playoffs?
if we stay together, stay positive, and just continue to play Prospect basketball, I think the sky's the limit. Like, we think we can compete with a lot of people in the state of Illinois, and hopefully we can make that run.
All right, great. Thanks, Tony. And next, public address announcer Mr. Hardy will be on to preview Friday's game.
He's playing up, so I think it's around like 4 or 5 minutes.
Welcome back to Prospect Basketball Weekly. I'm your co-host, Jack Ankeny, and today we're joined by Prospect's public address announcer, John Hardy. So, Mr. Hardy, it's great to have you here.
Pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
All right, so to start off, what is it like to watch this great team play every Friday night?
Well, I know the coach and the staff have been putting this team together for a few years, and this year has been very exciting because we see the end of their work. Every game is a little different, but we know that the talent is there to win everything we try. Every game we're in.
All right, what do you think they do to kind of separate themselves from other teams in the AMSL, being as they went 9-1?
It comes down to being, I feel, to be comfortable with your teammates. Coach Cuba and I, we often talk, and a lot of people look at the box score for points. I look for assists. And if you look at some of their stat sheets on the assist, you'll see that everybody can shoot, but everybody can pass too. And to them, it's all the same.
So I guess going off that assist, what do you think it means to the team to have a big man like Matt Zuba who really likes to kind of rack up those assists?
I think Matt finally realized that he can be twice the player if he did twice as much. And him at the high post with the basketball, he can do 4 or 5 different things. And a lot of the other teammates know that too. And he has a lot of assists from the free throw line on in.
Okay. How do you think this team kind of compares to maybe Prospect teams in the years past?
Oh, wow. It only compares to one, and that was the team 8 or 9 years ago. See, when you get to my age, the years blend into each other. But that was a very good team, too. I think this team has a better shooting team. The other one had a really, really strong rebounding team. But the results were almost exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference how you get there. It's just to get there.
Okay. What kind of potential do you think this team has heading into the regional championship on Friday?
Like I said, the staff has been pointing for this weekend for 3 years, and there's no reason that we won't be down at Robert Morris next week in the sectional.
Okay. What do you think?
I expect it to be in the sectional.
Okay.
I already have my seat picked out.
What do you think it will take for this team to make a deep run in the playoffs?
For this team, if you keep the turnovers to a minimum, they're just as good as anybody else out there.
Okay, so this Friday is the last home game of the season, and for some of the guys like Frankie and Zuba, who you have been seeing watching the past 3 years,
Yes.
what does it mean to kind of this be the last game that you're seeing them in the Gene Walker?
having done this with my boys when they finish their season, they will play their game, they will do the best they can, but after the game, I expect to see all kinds of emotions, and I will try to give a little bit of shout out to all the seniors, hopefully as they walk off the floor with a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter.
All right, great. Thanks, Mr. Hardy. And next, Paul will be on to preview Friday's game with Coach Camardella.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Welcome back to Week 12 of Prospect Basketball Weekly, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm joined once again by Coach Camardella. Coach, thanks for joining us once again. Mm-hmm. Taking a look at the Lake Park Lancers, they were 12-14 during the regular season, but with 2 wins in the regional playoffs now, they're going to give you guys a tough matchup on Friday night. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for from this matchup?
Well, I mean, if you look at their schedule, you look at their scores, they play in the DuPage Valley Conference, which is a great conference year in, year out. And so their record doesn't speak to who they are as a team. And when we were seeding the sectional, I knew it. And looking at it, and just a couple of years ago, Lake Park was 1 game short of Peoria. I mean, they made it all the way to the Elite Eight. Their coaching staff is extremely intense, extremely prepared, and they have a system that can disrupt teams, as you've seen here during their run in the regional. What we expect is a very pointed effort to try and force tempo, to try and get us into early turnovers. And to try and get us to take contested forced shots, based on their defensive pressure. They turn a lot of defense into offense. We were charting their game on Monday, and we had them for creating 11 turnovers in the first half, 8 of which led to baskets. So, I mean, it was a pretty impressive stretch that they had there, and something that we're going to have to be mindful of come tomorrow.
Then obviously controlling the ball, how are you guys going to be avoiding those turnovers to keep those points off the board from their transition offense?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is pacing and spacing. They're when they're in tight space, they can make the half court seem very small. And if we are crowded or grouped in areas that allow, for example, 1 guy to guard 2 or 2 guys to guard 3, I'm going to have to burn some timeouts. Today's practice is vitally important to not teach our guys, but to remind our guys. Our guys know the answer. And they understand space. It's just a matter of going out there and recognizing, showing them where traps occur, where the releases are, where the soft spots and kickouts will be against their man press. But they do a great job of disguising it. Occasionally they'll switch horizontal screens. They'll occasionally trap on the pass. They'll occasionally run at you, very Rick Pitino style, in sort of a run and jump scenario. So we'll be prepared. It just guys have to have that killer instinct, and they got to keep looking vertical and not horizontal with their passes and their dribbles, and we'll feel good.
And then one of their key players in that game last night against Buffalo Grove was Garrett Fant. He had 20 points and 8 rebounds. Obviously a very impressive stat line. How are you guys going to continue to possibly contain some of their bigger players that you haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I mean, that's the great part about once you get to the state tournament, especially here, is you have the opportunity to play teams that you're not that familiar with and who aren't that familiar with you. The team that can adapt and get the game going at their tempo and their speed has an advantage. Mm-hmm. And obviously playing here in Gene Walker, it's crazy for me to think about just how much we've been through with the senior class, that this will be their last game at Gene Walker. And so for us, especially with Garrett, is to try and limit him and force him into tough shots. We'll be running a couple different guys at him, but try and defend him with some length. And like we said, keep him off of how he tries to get his shots. But it's rare, and our guys would tell you, when we play some of these players like Jared Murphy from Meadows earlier this week, we've gone against some high major Division I talent as well. And it's never about completely stopping them. It's about limiting and trying to force them into uncomfortable type shots.
You did talk about familiarity versus playing teams that you haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. How do you think that will affect Friday night's game, really, with playing with both teams not being very familiar with each other?
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret how we play. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, anybody who watches film. We in dead ball situations, we're constantly looking to exploit defenses based on who has foul trouble, based on who has the hot hand, based on how we see the defensive, system rotating that we're playing against. I'll watch things from an offensive angle, Rathy's keying up the defense, and our assistant coaches, from Bruss to Mack to Reibel to Heilman to Garms to our whole staff, we're communicating with each other on the bench, trying to find where our advantages are.
And then, speaking of hot hands,
Mhm.
Dan Spetcher is kind of the number 2 guy. He had 17 points overall, but he didn't get to play in the fourth quarter because of foul trouble.
Yeah.
And he came out hot, had 10 points in
Yeah.
the first quarter.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to limit such a hot hand when obviously we said Garrett Fant's already a big threat to begin with?
Yeah, he seems to be sort of like a combo type forward. We've watched a little film and obviously a couple of games here this week, and very good going to his right. I was very impressed with his pull-up and mid-range game. And it's, again, trying to keep him off balance a little bit with regards to where he's getting his shots and how clean the looks he gets. I think one of the advantages that we do have, and we've sort of used all year, is we have length. And especially with Richie and with Zelmer and with Zub, I mean, that's a lot of length out there. And then if you couple that with the speed of our guards, it's a nice combo to have. We're going to do everything we can to force difficult decisions, force contested shots, and play out.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, it
Good
should
luck
be great.
tomorrow night.
Yep.
And then for everyone at home, if you can't make the game tomorrow night, definitely head out to the NFHS Network where me and Jack Ankeny will be broadcasting tomorrow night's game and all playoff games from here on out. So you can go to our Prospector Now Twitter and get instructions on how to be able to watch the game. And hopefully we can have as many fans as possible. We're rooting the Knights on in tomorrow's game.
Sounds great.
All right. This has been Week 12 of Prospect Basketball Weekly. For my co-host, Jack Ankeny, this is Paul Evers. We will see you next week.